From inside the cleavage of a lot of vagina, it's the IGN Digigods. So please welcome two escaped convicts from Absalom, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Yes, that's right. We are recycling openings now. We've come to that place.
Well, you didn't tell me that. We could book Corey to record new ones.
Yeah, I know, but we haven't closed the deal yet on all the new submissions. We're still taking them.
All right. Well, you know what?
People are still coming. This last week was fast and furious. A lot of people sending in submissions. So it's I want to get people until they got to think. You got to get your creative juices flowing. Got to let people think about these things. You can't say on Monday, "Oh, we're taking submissions and we close it on Friday," and give people 5 days. They got wives and families and
we've been saying this for like a month.
2 months. Something like that.
We have very lazy fans.
Anyway, gods@digigods.com. Still taking new submissions. Submissions for the new openings until the end of March. So another 2 weeks or so.
Really? The end of March?
End of March. Another 2 weeks or so. And, we'll have about 2 or 3, maybe 4 weeks of recycling. And that's fine. That's okay.
Okay.
We can live with recycled openings.
You know what? Recycling's big now.
It is big, isn't it?
All the kids are
We're
doing it.
saving the earth.
Although,
using new openings is saving the earth.
Although I have to say that sometimes when I'm walking down the street, say I'm walking down the street eating a piece of food.
Okay, you're walking down the street eating a piece of food.
Eating some food, I'm just walking down the street, whatever, it's a bag of chips or something.
Okay.
And I want to throw it away.
Yeah.
And what I'll do is I'll try to find an alley. Because usually the garbage cans are in an alley.
Yes.
Sure. Here in Los Angeles. So I will walk by an alley, look to the right and left, hope that there's a trash can there, throw my garbage away. And what really annoys me, and you know what? You get this in restaurants too. You get these this lineup of trash cans. There's the blue one, there's the green one, there's the regular one, and sometimes there's this other one. There's like one for meat.
Sure.
There's one for recyclables.
Sure.
There's one for just quote unquote regular garbage, whatever that is.
Uh-huh.
And there's one for like leaves. And organic material.
Right.
I don't know if that means food or not. I think it might just
Right.
mean leaves, and that annoys me. Because here's the thing: what nobody thinks about is now you can have 4 different garbage cans. Like they have it at Whole Foods. I think at Whole Foods they have 3. You can have 100 different garbage cans, but does that mean that you have to have 100 different types of garbage trucks?
Yes.
To take 100 different types of garbage away?
Yes.
Well, where's the environmental impact of that?
I don't know. I don't measure carbon footprints. I just look for Bigfoot footprints.
I'm just saying that, it's like they have all these different...
That's another question.
And it makes people feel good, but in the end, you could be hurting yourself. You don't know.
And that's another question. Where's Bigfoot? We got more cameras in this world now, more cell phone cameras. I say we look historically at where Bigfoot is supposed to be, and then we just get like 10,000... Here's what you do. Where Bigfoot used to be, you have Burning Man there. And all those cameras, somebody's going to capture something, right? Just relocate Burning Man to Bigfoot stomping ground. He'll probably show up.
Well, you have to
no one will notice him.
Well, you have to take
They'll
a
just
picture.
think he's just some other dude at Burning Man.
You'll have to take a picture of your imagination
Dancing
because that's
with
where he
his
lives.
fur, all 8 foot of him.
All right, that's great. Wade.
All right.
Where'd that come from? I thought mine was random. Oh, I know where you I know where you got that from. A couple days ago, and I've never watched his show, but I was hanging out with a buddy of mine, and he's sick, so I've been hanging out with him, so he was watching it.
The Bible?
Anderson Cooper?
You're hanging out with Anderson Cooper?
No, a friend of mine was watching Anderson Cooper,
okay.
whose show I had never seen.
All right.
And on CNN, and he did a thing on Bigfoot.
Anderson Cooper's Bigfoot?
Like a few days, not his Bigfoot. But Anderson Cooper was he sucks. That show sucks. I saw 5 minutes. I was pissed off already. It just seems so stupid. All of TV seems stupid. Way. That's why we're film critics.
Yeah, well, they ain't much more film. But you know what? Honestly, it's an amazing show today. I have to be honest. We've got this is the week. This is the week when all the Oscar stuff and all the year end, big gun stuff really starts pouring out on a DVD. So we've got a tremendous lineup today. We really do. Awesome stuff. Great classic movies. Great new movies. And we have VoxBox and listener mail. And Mark, no, hold on.
Oh.
We are going to start off with the VoxBox.
Really?
Yes, we are.
Wow.
We're going to start off with the VoxBox for a very good reason. Okay. So, Mark, go ahead. Fire it up.
Oh, I get to do the song?
You get to do the song.
It's VoxBox.
Hey, Wade and Mark. It's Lance Taylor again. I have 2 questions for you guys today. The first one involves the 1933 Best Picture, which of course was, no, Mark, not Star Wars, Cavalcade, obviously. Not available on DVD or Blu-ray in America. And what the hell? I mean, that sucks. It should be available. I want it. I want to own it. I don't want the PAL imported version. I want good old fancy American version. Any chance we'll get it anytime soon? And also Amadeus, the director's cut, which came out, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. Every time they re-release the movie, now we get the director's cut, and I don't like the director's cut. I much prefer the theatrical version. Do you think we'll get the theatrical version on Blu-ray anytime soon? I hope. I don't care if it's a combo or seamless branching or whatever. Just give me my theatrical version of Amadeus on Blu-ray. Damn it. Yeah, so what do you guys think? Give me some good news, will you?
Okay, now I'm going to tell you, I think Lance is blessed with some kind of weird karmic energy, because honestly, he sent that to us in late February, all right, and I was going to use it as a VoxBox somewhat earlier because it was, Cavalcade has like an Oscar thing to it, and I kid you not, literally within days, this arrives in the email. The people have spoken. 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment announces Voice Your Choice winners. 9 classic films to release on Blu-ray for the first time. And the most write-in votes was Cavalcade.
What?
Which will be released on August 6th on Blu-ray. So, Lance, you have the magic touch, man.
I wonder if Lance voted. Now, Lance, did you vote? Were you one of the people voting for this thing?
I'll tell you. I didn't even know about this. This is how well Fox has publicized this. But it's basically here are the other films. They're all from classic decades. Nothing past 1960. From the 1930s, Jesse James, 1939, with Tyrone Power, and Call of the Wild with Jack Thornton in 1935. And then from the 1940s, I'm thrilled about this: The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, which I just think is awesome. Gene Tierney and Rex Harrison, fantastic. Even includes a young Natalie Wood. Believe it or not, that's from 1947. And then Black Swan from 1942, another Tyrone Power movie. 1950s, they're going to release Carmen Jones from 1954, which is pretty great. And Desk Set, which has been on DVD but never on Blu-ray. Desk Set's a good film. Katharine Hepburn, absolutely fabulous. Spencer Tracy, never better. And then from the 1960s, North to Alaska and Undefeated. So, those are both kind of, I don't know why those films are that popular, but there you go. One's a John Wayne movie. That's why.
So what, now here's the thing. We need Lance to record Vox boxes for other films we'd like to see on Blu-ray.
Yeah, totally.
Because then when he says it becomes true.
It does, indeed. Totally becomes true. So, Lance, thank you. What an awesome Vox box. As for the second part of the question, the Amadeus thing, I don't know. This is one of these ongoing peeves that a lot of people have about director's cuts, is that a lot of movies, they'll get a director's cut and then everyone forgets that there's another cut. It's the Star Wars syndrome, basically. It's like, where's my original Star Wars? Where's the one thing where Han shot first? Where's the one with no CGI? And E.T., for example, when it finally came out on Blu-ray, it was, not just the original, but that they got the right version. Close Encounters, same thing. They're giving you the original version because people clamor for it. The same thing eventually happened with The Last Emperor, which was out there in that horrible, horrible European director's cut for the longest time, which was never really a director's cut. But then you have other stuff like Last of the Mohicans. The original release cut of that has never been on DVD. It's never been on Blu-ray. It's Michael Mann essentially has buried it, and there are things that he took out of it. And if you want the original release cut, you got to get it on a Laserdisc, of all things. So it kind of depends on the director to some degree. If Milos Forman feels the heat, I guess he could always say, sure, do an anniversary release. Amadeus was 1985. Four.
Wasn't
84.
it 4?
It's 84. Yeah, it's 84. Yes, it was. It was 84. Oscars 1985. I always get that confused in my head. So in 1984, so you figure if they're going to do an anniversary release, probably next year. But they may release it end of the year and call it an anniversary release around holiday time, and that doesn't even guarantee anything. They may still screw us and not release the original release cut. But it would be nice if they gave it, the all cuts on the same Mondo package, pay more for it, even though it doesn't cost us any more, 3 discs, and include a digital copy, ultraviolet, boondoggle, and all that junk.
No,
So
ultraviolet is no boondoggle.
I know
Ultraviolet is the future of everything.
But you know what? I mean, and I realize there are a lot of pros to it, but man, they got to standardize that sucker. They really do.
I know they do.
It's just there's no. It's like one guy's ultraviolet is not someone else's ultraviolet. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Universal's ultraviolet and Warner Brothers ultraviolet. It's not like you go to this. It's not like there's one place where you can go for your access to all of your ultraviolet digital locker stuff. They really are just kind of. This whole thing has not been well thought out.
Even worse, what's this whole thing about AMC launching this movie streaming network?
Oh, and Redbox as well. Redbox
Yes.
is jumping into the streaming thing.
AMC, stop that.
Well, look, I mean,
AMC is going to launch.
Yes.
It's called It's a video streaming. It's like Amazon or Netflix or whatever, but it's like I think it's $5. I think it's $5 a movie.
But
or
keep in mind, AMC and Regal, and we're going to get into our DVDs here in a second.
We are?
And we have a listener mail that we're going to read later on in the show. But AMC and Regal, the 2 largest exhibitors in the country, remember they formed Open Road, which is the distribution company that it's done a number of fairly decent films. End of Watch being obviously the one that was most noteworthy recently.
And Side Effects, which is terrific.
Side Effects, sure, the Soderbergh film. So I mean, these are they're getting into the production and distribution of movies that they put into their own theaters, which is kind of the reverse of what it used to be. The studios created theaters to put their own movies into. Now we have theater companies creating movies to put into themselves. So it's a little reverse integration. Because the way the game.
But these
has
are old
changed.
films, though. I mean, this is like it's $5, and viewers have a month to watch it.
Right.
And once they start watching it, they have 48 hours to watch the whole thing.
And the point being that exhibitors need to make money, and they're not making money under the old model because the studios are taking a bigger and bigger piece of the movies in the theaters and leaving them in theaters for a shorter and shorter period of time. They keep collapsing those windows, which makes it harder for the theaters to get to a point in the run of the movie where the split favors them. There's this rolling split, if people don't know, where when a movie opens first weekend, like 80% of the take goes to the studio and 20% goes to the theaters, if even that. And then as the run goes on, that split drifts further and further to 50-50, and in some cases, it used to finally get all the way down to 60-40. But if a movie's only in theaters for like 4 weeks, and then by the time on that 5th week no one is there because they know it's going to be on Blu-ray in 3 weeks, then no one's going to the theater, and the theaters are getting, hey, yippee, we're going to get 50% of nothing. So and we're spending money on overhead. So they have to find other ways to support their business, and this makes sense.
But I'm not sure that $5 to stream, Nightmare on Elm Street or Hannibal or The Exorcist or Blade Runner is really the answer.
Maybe not, but it's they're looking for something, and eventually somebody's going to hit on something, and it'll work. Also, we've got some other news here. Where's my other news? Here's my other news before we get around to it. May 21st, 2 collections, classic and contemporary gangster films on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Rock on Warner Brothers. Public Enemy, Little Caesar, Petrified Forest, White Heat. In the Ultimate Gangster Collection Classic, and then the Ultimate Gangster Collection Contemporary, we'll have Mean Streets, The Untouchables, Goodfellas, Heat, The Departed. How about that?
That's great.
Isn't that terrific?
I'm not sure there's a ringer in the bunch.
No, there's
and
not.
There's always a ringer in the bunch.
That's pretty great. So if you want to just at a time when gun control is really becoming a hot topic in the United States, Warner Brothers is out in front. They're out in front, watching people shoot each other.
This gets the thumbs up from Wayne LaPierre of the NRA.
Yes, it does.
Because whatever Wayne likes, I don't like.
Mark, tell
Yes.
us tell us about the stuff. And
Now, Wade, can you tell me why Americans call it football?
No.
Because there's very little
can't.
feet involved, and I don't understand. And yet we have football.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, there's a new DVD, Super Bowl 47 champions. This is all about the Baltimore Ravens and how they came away with it. And a decent Super Bowl.
That was a pretty good Super Bowl.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
I thought the 49ers would win it. The whole brother coaching thing was interesting to me, but I didn't pick the younger brother.
And what's funny is that they don't on the box. They don't seem to mention the blackout that happened during the game. It was like a 45-minute blackout during the game, and they had to stop play. And
Yes.
that better be on this DVD because I did not watch it because I don't like football. That's not true. I mean, I like football fine. Football is one of those sports that I only get into around the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like hockey, I never get into at all. Basketball, I'll dabble because I have a lot of huge Laker fans, including you, Wade Major.
Yeah.
And then football, I get into around the playoffs.
Okay.
Baseball, I'm into all the time. Anyway, this is fine. You know what? If you love Super Bowl, love Ravens, go for it. Otherwise, whatever. I mean, come on.
That's our obligatory mention
stop
of.
that.
That's our obligatory mention of Super Bowl.
XLV11.
Yeah, the 47. There
Yes.
we go.
Go.
This is
Next.
All right.
Why are we talking about this?
I don't know. It's because it's Super Bowl.
It's not Super Bowl.
We're going to start off with foreign stuff, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, foreign films. You know what? Unbelievable foreign language films in here. Unbelievable foreign language films, especially three. Three of the best foreign language films of like the last not just a year but number of years are here. Starting with what was my number 2 film of the year? Almost my number 1 film. Damn right. Damn right. The Intouchables.
You know what's funny is that sometimes you surprise me because
Why?
Intouchables is such a blatant crowd pleaser.
Yep.
That usually you don't like that
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
You like all the indie crazy
But
stuff.
you know what? This is why this is a better crowd pleaser than others, because it's in French. Seriously,
So
that's it. There it is.
Well, here's the thing. It was in English, and it was retitled Driving Miss Daisy.
Well, this is what I was just going to say. This is the movie that Driving Miss Daisy should have been. This is the movie that Scent of a Woman should have been. This is the movie that that crazy thing with Bill Murray and there's a whole bunch of them. Michael Douglas and Tobey Maguire. What was that?
The Wonder Boys.
The Wonder
Oh,
Boys.
that's a good movie, though.
This is a movie that should have been. No, this is the movie that all of those should have been.
God.
And it's just unbelievably awesome. Yeah, they totally tweaked the story. It's a story basically. It's based on a real life story of a French guy who was a quadriplegic, who was cared for by, I believe, a Tunisian or an Algerian guy who just kind of came from the streets and learned to be a caretaker, and they developed this amazing friendship. Well, they've swapped out the North African guy for Omar Sy, who is just absolutely fantastic, and he's one of the big up and coming stars in France. He just landed a couple of big Hollywood roles, believe it or not. And
So now his career is over.
and the thing that's amazing about Omar Sy in this movie, which is worth mentioning, is that last year Jean Dujardin won Best Actor. He swept everything. He won Best Actor at Cannes. He won it at the BAFTAs. He won it at the Oscars for The Artist. I mean, the guy, the first French actor to just like sweep, to run everything. But you know what award he didn't win? He didn't win Best Actor in France at the Césars. Omar Sy beat him for this movie. This movie had already made $200 million all over Europe before it even came to the United States and sold a single ticket. That's how big of a phenomenon this movie is. It is the most wonderful, heartwarming film you could possibly imagine.
I don't like the name.
And
What is Intouchable? What does that mean?
Okay, fine. You get some deleted scenes. Don't bother watching them. They kind of detract from the film, to be honest. It is a fantastic Blu-ray transfer. I love this movie. You're going to cry. It's going to make you feel so good. You're going to cry.
Even though it's corny, and it's it's a little it's very
Yeah.
sentimental and pretty calculated. It's a nice movie. It's one of those movies where if you don't like it, you're a bit of a Scrooge.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
And this movie's good too that you have in your hand.
It is indeed. This is also a movie that has a similar theme to it, believe it or not. And this is another great French film. This was, and by the way, worth pointing out, both of these were Golden Globe nominees.
Well, in that case, you got to watch them because Golden Globe rules.
But Rust and Bone was not an Oscar nominee because the French did not select Rust and Bone as their submission. They selected Intouchables. And either way, it could have been. Rust and Bone is obviously the artier choice, and Rust and Bone is so freaking good.
Well, this is
Did
the
you see Rust and Bone?
Well, yeah. But now,
Gosh, this movie tore my heart out. Like the other
Jacques
one was
Audiard, his previous film,
A Prophet.
A Prophet, was also good, and you can tell this guy is just uncalculated. He's unapologetic. He's not melodramatic. He's very tough on his characters. He's good.
That's it. He's tough on his characters. Which I think is wonderful because you can be too precious about a filmmaker Some filmmakers can be much too precious about their material and their characters, and they can really. He doesn't. He just puts them through the ringer, and man, it's so good for the actors. It's wonderful. This is Marion Cotillard, the wonderful La Vie en Rose Oscar winner.
We sat next to her at the LAFCA Awards.
Damn right.
Actually, I sat right next to her. You sort of sat next to her, and you
Kind
got
of.
your picture taken with her,
That's
which
right.
I was too embarrassed and shy to ask for.
And she stars along with Matthias Schoenaerts, who is the Belgian actor who was previously in Bullhead, which is also an
Which
Oscar
is
nominee.
that's
Another
a brutal
great
movie.
film. And essentially, this is kind of a similar sort of a thing. I mean, it's I don't want to give too much away, but there are.
Actually, you know what? Here's the thing. I didn't know anything about the movie going in. I had no idea what happens to the Cotillard character.
Let's just say.
So try not to read like the back of the box or anything like that.
Yeah, don't. Just know that this is the most unconventional relationship movie you will probably ever see, and it just goes into such amazing places. See it for these two incredible performances, and don't read anything on the box. Don't read anything about it. If you don't know anything about Rust and Bone, just go in totally blind. Take
No,
my word
seriously,
for it.
just going blind.
Go in blind. Take my word for it. You want to see this movie on Blu-ray as well. Fantastic transfer, and a lot of gritty photography in this. Beautiful photography and gritty photography, beautifully done on Blu-ray.
You know what other movie I say don't read anything about it before
Yeah.
you watch it is The Celebration. Like when The Celebration happened,
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it.
Right.
I put the DVD in, and The Celebration, the Thomas Vinterberg film,
Yep.
absolutely floored me. And then afterwards, I read, like when it eventually came out on DVD, I read the box. I'm
Yep.
like, this would ruin it. If you
Totally.
knew that it was about this guy doing this and this
Totally.
is the story of this, you'd be like, God, it's going to lose all its power.
And the next, and by the way, a lot of people have asked me, they're like, do you think, Intouchables didn't get an Oscar nomination? They think, do you think if Rust and Bone had been submitted, instead, if they had won and been the French submission, would they have gotten the nomination? And no, I don't think either would have, because I think that the committee was always going to nominate and always going to give the award to Amour. Amour was submitted as an Austrian film because of Haneke, but it's in French, and it's basically a French cast, and it's a French movie for all intents and purposes. It just happens to be an Austrian director. And I don't think when they were going to put Amour in there, I don't think they're going to put another French language film in there, because then it's like, oh, you're cheating. You were going to put two French films in by calling one of them Austrian? No. So I think the French were doomed to not have a nomination this year, no matter what the submission was. But this film did get a nomination.
This
and
film's
boy,
awesome.
You know what?
love this movie.
Between
It's
this
fun.
movie and Amour, I would have been perfectly happy with the Oscar going to either of them. I love A Royal Affair. A Royal Affair is just brilliant. This is a Danish film. Mads Mikkelsen is fast becoming my favorite actor in the world.
And you know
that
what?
Guy,
And he-
that guy just walks in there with that granite, that stony, chiseled Danish, Nordic, high cheekbone, narrow-eyed face of his, and he barely flinches a muscle, and somehow he emotes volumes.
I've actually
How does
never,
he do this?
I didn't realize he could be so romantic. He does
he's
not seem like a
fantastic.
romantic actor to me, but here he is.
Well, here's the thing. He's one of those actors, a little bit, and I'm loath to put Gary Cooper even in that class, because it's more of a European style of acting. He's one of those guys who emotes so little. Ben Kingsley's a good example. He does this. It's a minimalistic style of acting where you take everything down so low that when there's the slightest quiver, it's like a Richter 8.0 earthquake. It just pours out of the screen and it just washes over you.
Well, there's
and when
a,
you get to the point climactically in this movie
Right.
where he's really just unleashing it, it's like a torrent of emotion. It's incredible.
There's a famous saying about acting, and they say the best actors feel the most but show the least.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's something that he does.
Yeah. He's amazing. So, if you don't know the story of A Royal Affair, it's a
about an
Danish
affair?
It's about an affair. It's a Danish. It's about Danish history, and it's really kind of a royal intrigue that takes place in the court of the Danish King Christian VII, and this is all taking place during the Enlightenment. Which, the 18th century, and you've got Rousseau and Voltaire and all these guys. And Voltaire is a big kind of figure in this. He's not a literal figure, but everyone is reading Voltaire, and they're talking about Voltaire and individual rights. And he says people should have rights. And, of course, everything is kind of ruled by religious law and by royal law and all tradition. And Voltaire is upsetting that whole thing. And Mads Mikkelsen is a physician who's very much into Voltaire, who is brought into the court of the Danish king, who's a little bit crazy. And he winds up having an affair with the queen, and I will leave the rest to you for you to figure out and find out when you watch the movie. It is opulent. The art direction is spectacular. The photography is brilliant. This is a Magnolia Blu-ray that just absolutely kills it. It is so freaking good. And Magnolia Blu-rays can be a little uneven. They're usually good, but this is right. This is top flight of the Magnolia releases. Special features include an interview with Mads Mikkelsen, Nikolai Arcel, the director, and Alicia Vikander, who plays the Queen, and a bunch of other cool little ditties that aren't huge, but they're decent.
Did you hear what Ennio Morricone said about Tarantino?
What did he say?
So Ennio Morricone, who of course has been around. I mean, that guy. Come on, since the '60s, he's the best. He's good bad, good man, the ugly, whatever. He says he will never work with Tarantino again. You want to know why?
Because he insulted the spaghetti western or something.
No, because quote, he places music in his films without coherence.
When has Morricone actually worked with Tarantino?
I don't understand. Well, I don't know.
Tarantino never uses score. He just puts like pop
crazy
music
70s.
Yeah, it's like Django has all this like R&B in it and stuff.
It's a little kind of a weird story.
He'll never work with him again.
Well, I mean, the Hollywood Reporter had this article, and he's so get this. Morricone's 84 years old. Actually, you know what? Actually, he says that he worked with Tarantino on 4 films. Which film?
What? What do you mean he worked
well,
with him?
because the soundtracks include Morricone tunes.
Well, it doesn't mean he worked with him.
Morricone and Tarantino worked together on Inglourious Bastards.
No, they didn't.
And on both installments of Kill Bill.
No, they didn't.
But it'll never happen again, according to the 84-year-old Morricone. I wouldn't
work together does not mean he called him up and said, "Hi, can I use your music in my movie?" The music you already wrote for another movie. That's not working together.
Well, here's the quote.
Working together is you sit in a room, you spot it, and you go, "I'd like a cue here, and I want it to kind of crescendo a little bit." Well, no, maybe it should decrescendo. That's working together.
I wouldn't like to work with him again
whatever.
I wouldn't like to work with him again on anything. He said last year he wanted to work with me again, ever since Inglourious Bastards, but I told him I couldn't because he didn't give me enough time. So he just used a song I had written previously. Morricone didn't like Django Unchained.
Whatever.
Didn't care for it, too much blood.
All right, real quickly, just to knock out the rest of these foreign language films, Cohen Media Group, who we absolutely love, they are just doing great work across the board, and I am thrilled that they are resurrecting the Andre Tessier film, The Bronte Sisters, which is going to be showing at this year's Colcoa, City of Light, City of Angels Festival.
Oh, by the way, should I tell you the update?
Let's hear the update.
Well, Wade had said I should be a judge on the jury at Colcoa.
Damn right.
And I said the issue was I don't know if I'll be able to watch
22 movies in 6 hours.
Well, I talked to the I talked to the program director, right, Francois. He's the
He's
the program director, right,
mm-hmm.
for the festival. I exchanged emails, talked to him on the phone, and he said this year there are 32 films. And I'd have to watch them in 2 weeks, and he wasn't sure how many would be on screener yet. And he was supposed to call me yesterday and tell me how many would be on screener.
32?
Yes.
There's 32?
Yes. So,
oh my gosh.
He was supposed to call me back yesterday and tell me how many would be on a screener. Because if it's on screeners, I can pound down 4 on a weekend. I can just sit home and watch them all.
Sure.
But if it's like, if 25 are on screeners, but I have to go see 7, I don't know that I have the time to see 7 because I have a day job.
Yeah.
So he was going to get back to me. Now, our good friend Jeannie Oppenheimer is on the jury. And
I've been on the jury with Jeannie before.
And Lael Lowenstein is also.
Mm-hmm. I've been on the jury with Lael before, too.
So they're both on the jury. And actually, Jeannie had wanted to know, because I had more inside track than she had, because I had just talked to Francois. She wanted to know how many films would be on screener, because that's all the jury people care about.
Right.
Because you can't go to 32 premieres in 2 weeks.
True.
It's not going to happen.
Very true.
So she's wondering how many are on screener. Francois did not call me back, which makes me think that he's realizing that I just can't guarantee I can see 32 films in 2 weeks.
They're also waiting to hear back from sales companies and yada, yada, yada. That takes some time, too. So
I'm just saying.
Somebody actually has to sit there and, run the machine and burn the disc.
I know.
And that's a pain for some people.
But what he had said to me is he said, look, if you don't see every single movie that's in contention, sometimes you get, judges who maybe skip a film or two, and then they recuse themselves from talking about it. And I said, I don't want to do that. I want to see them all.
Yeah. Well, it's
still out there.
Okay, so back to Cohen Media Group, The Other Son by Loren Levy. Is an Israeli film from Cohen. It's on DVD and Blu-ray, and it is a fantastic film. Really, I didn't see this during the year, and I was kind of blown away. Did you see this?
No.
It's basically a kind of a switched at birth sort of a thing. It's about a an Israeli kid who finds out that by birth he was Palestinian. And so it gets into it's kind of a contrivance, and obviously that means that there's a Palestinian kid who was born Jewish, right? So it's kind of a contrivance to create some kind of a metaphorical look at that situation. But it's really an awesome film and definitely worth checking out. I was shocked how much I like this movie.
Wow, Wade.
Yeah.
Shocked
and stunned, really, and a decent Blu-ray. It's not an incredibly well shot film, so it doesn't really just explode on Blu-ray. But I really thought it was super cool. So from Cohen Media Group, The Other Son, definitely check that out. One of the kind of overlooked foreign language films of last year, to be honest. All right, just burning through the rest of these so we can get to the really good stuff. We got a couple Olive foreign language films from Olive Films. Olive usually does the classic American stuff, but we got a couple of terrific. Foreign films starring Lino Ventura, and Lino Ventura was he just I don't know if there's a way of describing what he represented in Europe back in kind of in the 1960s. He's just Lino Ventura was like a I don't know who's I mean, I could say he's sort of Depardieu-like, but he was like sexy, but he was sort of bull-faced. He had that raw, rugged
Who's this?
Lino Ventura.
Oh, yeah, they named Ventura Boulevard after him in Los Angeles.
Okay. No, Lino Ventura was just amazing Italian actor. Both of these are French films, and they're in French, but an Italian actor who he had that raw, gritty face. It looked like he'd just been working in a coal mine, but at the same time, he was kind of sexy and cool. Anyway.
Like me.
Yeah, exactly. You're Mr. Coal Mine. Anyway, one is The Great Spy Chase, which is a fantastic spy comedy, and the other is Monsieur Gangster, which is an equally great kind of mob comedy, both from 1963. Both of them with the same trio of actors who were just so popular at the time. Lino Ventura stars along with Bernard Blier and Francis Blanche. Bernard Blier, of course, is the father of director Bertrand Blier. And these films are both directed by Georges Lautner and written by Michel Audiard, who is...
Jacques Audiard's sister.
Dad. So, yes, another father of a great director here. So we just talked about Jacques Audiard. So, yes, these films written by the father of the guy who directed Rust and Bone. Pretty awesome, right? Both on Blu-ray, both terrific films. Just awesome discovery from Olive. I'm just so grateful they're finding all these things. And then the last two, All Together from Kino Lorber.
No, last two. Wait, keep talking about movies people don't care about.
Hey,
let's not talk about Zero Dark 30. Let's not talk about The Hobbit. Oh no, let's talk about All Together. Let's do that.
All Together, Jane Fonda in a French language film. Which is it's sort of like one of the Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, only in French with Jane Fonda, and then also the Michelangelo Antonioni film Beyond the Clouds, which Wim Wenders presented back in 1994, and not exactly a great film, but a terrific cast. It includes Sophie Marceau, John Malkovich, Peter Weller, who was big at the time, Jean Reno, Irene Jacob, Fanny Ardant.
I used to think Irene Jacob was beautiful. She was so gorgeous.
Those are both on DVD, not Blu-ray.
Irene Jacob was so beautiful in the Kieslowski trilogy. Yeah, three colors.
Amazing. All right, Mark. Now on to the big movies.
I think we should keep talking about movies no one cares about.
All right. Zero Dark 30.
Good stuff.
The film that should have won Best Picture but didn't because everybody got all hung up on this little torture thing. Oh my
God. There's a
it's
couple
an
reasons.
Endorsement of torture.
Well, there's a couple reasons. One is because people had just
read the script. They sent us the script too.
Okay. Can I just say something?
Mark Bull published the published screenplay.
No. Can we tell people when they go to the bookstore and they see, as example, Zero Dark 30, the shooting script?
Yes.
Can we tell them what the shooting script really is?
Yeah,
it's
go
basically
ahead.
like a transcript of the movie.
Yeah.
It's not like Mark Bowl didn't. This is not what came out of Mark Bowl's word processor.
It is
not.
Let's put it this way. It is. It kind of is and isn't. It's an edited version to make sure that it corresponds to the film. So anything that he wrote that didn't wind up in the movie, or anything that may have been embellished or improvised or whatever, they go in and they tweak it. So
I don't know whether Mark Bowl actually wrote exterior Grand Trunk Road, Pakistan Day, a 2-lane highway tucked on the side of the road is an old man with a cart of mangoes. He may have written something else.
It's much more interesting when you get the inside the script stuff that they are releasing now on ebooks and stuff like that.
Yes.
Those are interesting because you actually do get the photocopied original pages to look at. And you're like, wow, there it is right off the typewriter.
Yes.
That's what I want to see.
It's like it also when you're in big tourist towns like New York or L.A., sometimes you'll see those street vendors who have scripts from famous movies on their table. It's like that.
Well, this is a Blu-ray DVD ultraviolet
Ray
combo
doesn't
pack.
care what I'm saying.
Zero Dark 30. We got to move here. I wasted
Oh,
all
now
that
we
time.
have to move.
Well, you had your Kolkoa story, and we had all kinds
My
of other stuff to
Kolkoa
do.
story ruled.
So anyway, Zero Dark 30 I thought was the best film of last year.
The reason why it didn't win
Bar
is
none. Go ahead. Why didn't it win?
because A, it just wasn't its year, because I think that maybe if Hurt Locker didn't exist,
Maybe.
possibly you could have won.
But so many people got so hung up on this idea. Everyone is the whole residue of the Iraq War and terrorism and 9/11. It's all still so heated and so politically charged in every way that everybody just kind of projects their politics on movies that don't have any politics. There's no politics in this movie. You remember when this movie was being made? It was people on the right who were saying, "Oh, they had special access to the Obama administration. It's going to be a total puff piece. They're going to put this together, and they're going to try to help him get reelected and so forth." Because Catherine Bigelow is a big donor to the Obama campaign. Turns out now all those people are attacking it. It's an endorsement of torture. It says that George Bush captured Osama bin Laden, and George Bush is. It's like, stop already. Back off. See the forest, not the trees.
Well, now-
this movie has no agenda.
People look for, well, this is a whole other conversation, but it's in politics today, people look for any reason,
Anything.
any manufactured BS
Anything.
reason to bring down the other side.
Mark Bowl wrote one of the best screenplays ever for this movie. He said it himself. He researched it like a journalist, and then he wrote it like a screenwriter. And no one else could have written this movie. It's impeccable. It's like one of those great political thrillers from the 70s, even better. I mean, it's right up there with All the President's Men, and you name it. I mean, it is a fantastic script. She directs the hell out of this thing. The sound editing, the photography, everything about this movie is top flight.
And we gave it Best Editor.
Yes, we did.
LAFCA, our inaugural Best
And-
Editor award was given to Zero Dark 30.
And Goldenberg went on and won an Oscar for the other movie he edited.
Argo.
Which is Argo. Anyway, outstanding film in every conceivable way. I take nothing from this movie, and I will defend it to my dying day. Sony nails it. It is just a superlative Blu-ray. Looks almost better on Blu-ray than it did on screen. I got to tell you, watching this, it just is a superb film. And great score from Alexander Desplat, who does not do his usual thing. It doesn't sound Desplat-like at all.
No, in fact, you know what? I was watching the film, and I was thinking to myself, I cannot, because there's no front credits.
No.
There's all the credits are at the end. I remember thinking, God, who did the music for this? Because
I know,
it's a
right?
good score. It turns
Yeah.
out it's the least person you would expect.
Yeah. The extras, not much, which leads me to think there's going to be some kind of a special edition maybe down the line, but maybe not if it didn't win all the awards it was supposed to. It only won one award for, what did it win? It was like tied for sound editing
Yeah,
with
there was a tie.
Skyfall, tied with Skyfall, which was weird. Mark Wahlberg was like, no BS. Anyway, just a few featurettes on here. Nothing really mind-boggling except the bit with Jessica Chastain talking about building her character is interesting. But the movie is what you want.
We love Jessica Chastain.
The movie that was supposed to win Best Picture in a lot of people's minds was Les Miserables, which just faded quickly. That was kind of the big film for all 10 seconds, and it got a few awards. It got a very deserved award for the supporting actress performance of Anne Hathaway, who really won it just for one song, one take.
One overwrought take.
I thought the movie had horrible photography. I hate the handheld shaky.
It was also
crap.
really poorly edited. I here's the thing. I will defend this film a little bit.
A little bit.
Although ultimately, I do think it was kind of okay. I'll defend it in this way: if your experience with the material is either reading it or seeing it on stage, you have to admit that Hooper gave it to you in a way that you cannot get otherwise. Lots of close-ups, which normally you don't get on stage.
And that whole live singing thing is what sort of dictated everything else. The fact that they had earpieces and that they were listening to the music, through an earpiece, and they were singing live and recording live. I'm fine with that. I just don't know why he had to sort of.
I'm even fine with.
Anyway.
Here's the thing: anything, people say that. The problem with the movie is that when every song is a showstopper, no song is a showstopper.
True.
Because the whole thing's at a 10. But I think that's just how people wanted this material presented. I don't know how much subtlety there is in this story.
True. I mean, I've seen it. Look, I've said this before. I've seen this done better in the non-musical versions, especially the television movie with Anthony Hopkins and Richard Jordan. But the featurette stuff on here is decent. There's a great commentary with Tom Hooper, even though I don't care for the movie that much, and I like it. It's not what I wanted it to be. It's a great commentary. Hooper is a great talker. And you do get the original text of Les Miserables. I don't know who's actually going to read it off of a DVD. But there it is. It's there. And then Blu-ray exclusives are interesting. One of them is a featurette on the live singing thing, which is super cool and very interesting and really compelling. And then a thing that kind of dissects the battle at the barricade is a pretty good featurette as well. So, I mean, worth renting. I don't know if it's worth owning unless you're just so completely bonkers for the music that you just got to have this thing and you want to watch it every month.
And by the way, I had never seen Les Mis in any form. I had never read it. I had never seen the stage play. I thought it was like a tourist play that I should avoid at all costs. So I knew nothing. So I go in there and I am overwhelmed for all that's good and bad about being overwhelmed by a film. But that being said, I did sort of like it. I can even justify Russell Crowe, whose singing voice is not what the others are. But I felt like as a counterpoint to all the heroes of the piece, it's okay if the villain sings a little bit differently. I could justify that.
Okay.
So there you go. I knock it for a lot of things, but I do give it credit where I think it's due.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Next, Wade, is one of my favorite films of last year, Life of Pi. Now, I am
You really love this.
I did. I adored it.
I don't.
Here's the thing.
All
I am
right.
so clueless. I didn't even know Life of Pi was a book. I did. I swear to Christ, I had no idea it was a book. No idea. Watch this movie. Watch this great movie. I am entranced by this film. It's beautiful.
I've been hearing about this for years. I got it because my sister-in-law, lives in Norway and teaches English in Norway, married to a Norwegian, and she teaches this book to her students.
Never
She's
heard
like
of it.
nuts for it. For years, she'd come over at holidays. Oh, Life of Pi, taught the students. Life
Never
of
heard
Pi.
of it.
And I'm like, I don't understand Life of like an apple pie.
Never heard of
what
it.
kind of pie?
No
I
idea.
don't. And how is it alive? I don't understand. It never made sense to me. No, pi is in the name of the character, spelled like the number. And what are you
It's a book?
talking about?
I don't know.
And the movie came out, and I was like, meh. A lot of production value thrown at an actor who's not very good. And I don't think the guy who plays
You don't
the
think
kid,
this kid's good?
No.
Really?
No.
This kid has to hold the whole movie by himself. He's
Exactly.
the only person in the movie.
Exactly.
And he's terrific.
No.
Considering what he's asked to do, he's terrific.
No.
You are Scrooge. I thought this thing was just magical. I really, really loved it. Reportedly it's based on a book. I don't know. I've been told there's a book called Life of Pi.
I mean,
I had
it is.
no idea.
I'm kind of shocked that it won photography as well, because I just thought it looked like phony and CGI.
Well, look,
but
here's
there it
the
is.
thing. When as Hitchcock found out in Lifeboat,
Yes.
it's very hard to make a movie that takes place in a boat. But the three things that keep that going, that keep you from being bored, if you're just going to spend all the movie in a boat, is the photography, the editing, and the acting. And by the way, when I say acting, I also mean, in a sense, I also mean the animals.
Well, Steven Spielberg's not too happy about it, but we'll say that.
Well, Spielberg-
because Ang Lee won Best Director for this thing. I will say this: from a logistical standpoint, what Ang Lee executed in this movie is breathtaking. Because when you consider that Les Mis, which is this gigantic, huge, logistically challenging musical, Les Mis shot for something like 120 days or whatever. Life of Pi shot 3 times as long. It took like a year to shoot this movie. I mean, on like 4 different continents and 15 different cities. It's an enormous task. So I do say, from a logistical standpoint, I admire the hell out of what he did. Just to keep your focus to put a movie together over that kind of a breadth of time and space and effort is an enormous achievement. The result, not so thrilled with.
Oh, Wade.
Yeah.
Michael Dana also won an Oscar for score.
Yes, he did. And it's a good score. It's a great score.
It's a terrific score.
Yeah.
I do. I absolutely adore this film, Life of Pi. It looks great. Also, I have to say that Ang Lee, part of the reason I think Ang Lee won is because he finally realized, he's one of the only filmmakers to realize what 3D does.
Yes.
Which is that he uses it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
It just subtly dimensionalizes the film. He's not showing off. He's taking you to this magical world, and so 3D can be justified in that sense. He's not throwing stuff at the screen. It was great. I just thought it was absolutely magical. And of course, the twist at the end, which I knew nothing about because I've heard this is based on a book, blew me away. The thing at the end where you realize what the whole story was?
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, that's like blowing me away. I love it.
Really?
Yes. Now, those who read the book, it'll mean nothing. But to me, it was like, wow.
I think I was like working on a blackhead at that point in the movie or something. I don't know.
No, this thing, I mean, just such care was taken into the whole film, into making the whole film. I thought the kid was great. The CGI of the tiger was great. Now, this is a book that I could see being considered unfilmable.
Okay. fine.
Now, why don't you tell me how much you love Rise of the Guardians like a lame person?
I didn't watch it.
It's like let's take
No one did,
Santa
actually.
Claus and the Jack Frost and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and put them in a whole mashup movie where they all get to hang out and everyone will get something that they want.
It's the Avengers of childhood and holiday fantasy heroes or something.
You know what I feel bad for in these movies? I feel bad for the voice actors. I'll tell you why.
Why? Because
Because when they sign on to these things, they like in this film, let's say Chris Pine, Alec Baldwin, Jude Law, Hugh Jackman, they record their voices, for a couple of days, and then they
Yes.
go away for 2 years,
Yes.
and they see the movie, and it's like maybe when they were doing this, like, wow, this is great. It'd be this for DreamWorks 3D, it's been a big hit. 2 years later, the movie comes out when they've long forgotten about it.
Yes.
And it winds up being Rise of the Guardians.
Oh my gosh.
This movie is just terrible. And by the way, it didn't do well either. It was not good, and it didn't do well, which is kind of bizarre. Anyway, and supposedly this is also based, by the way, on on printed source material.
Yes.
Which is unbelievable. But you know what? It seems it was kind of like written by committee. It's not all that much fun. It's kind of like dour. And
I knew I didn't want to see this movie when Santa Claus shows up looking like Superman with a beard. I mean, seriously, like Santa Claus. In every bit of artwork I saw in this movie, it's like Santa Claus is standing there. He's looking all kind of buff and heroic. Come on, stop. Really, just stop. Don't reinvent Santa Claus. And
I don't think you
the way that
understand.
you've reinvented Doctor Who. Doctor Who was originally an old guy with a crotchety old guy who looked like a professor from Cambridge, and now he's just like this. He's like the young West End stud. He's like 25 years old and he's good looking, and the women like him. I mean, come on.
because nobody's going to watch a show starring an 80-year-old guy. Those days are over.
He's Santa Claus. Every kid loves Santa Claus. They wait
How
for
is Santa Claus supposed to get all the way around the world in one night unless he's like buff and muscular and speedy? Guy gets it done. Can't be some fat guy. Fat guy's never going to make it around the world in one night.
Yeah. Fine. The Hobbit. Now, I can't fully vouch for this because the 3D version of The Hobbit on Blu-ray was not sent around. They only sent us the combo pack with the Blu-ray DVD Ultraviolet, so I was curious to see how the 3D on this thing, because this was like the whole point of this was to shoot it in 48 frames a second 3D, so that you would get this immersive experience watching it in a theater, the higher resolution, the higher frame rate, the whole 3D effect was supposed to be enhanced. I saw it that way projected. And I honestly thought that at 48 frames a second, I didn't hate it the way that I thought I would. I thought I was like watching a very special episode of Doctor Who combined with, Lidsville or something. So I just kind of got into it. It had the BBC thing, right? And the Shire looked very Teletubby-like in 48 frames. And so I just kind of imagined that, it was a really special episode of Teletubbies, too. I am unable to vouch for how the home experience of the higher frame rate and the 3D compares, because they didn't make it available to us. Which says something to me.
I would like to see something I'm very proud of.
What are you proud of?
I did not see this movie.
Did you not?
Nope.
You know what? I did
You know
not.
why 48 frames? Screw you.
Yeah, and frankly, what I was able to do was watch this, and I did see it theatrically in 24 frames as well, because I wanted to be able to compare and speak to all of those logistics. And I think it's fine. It's a decent film. It's not horrible. I don't think it needs to be 3 movies. You really feel them stretching out a lot of the stuff to really kind of blow some air into the set pieces. But it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly serviceable. And Martin Freeman is a terrific lead. He carries a movie in a wonderful way. And it's nice watching him and thinking, you know what, I saw you actually play a porn film stand-in once before in Love Actually, and that makes it very special, because I can picture Bilbo Baggins doing the nasty.
I saw him in the British version of The Office.
That's right.
And that's where I was like, God, this
He's
guy's
good.
funny.
He's good. He's very
cool.
funny. He's terrific. So anyway, yeah, I thought it was perfectly serviceable, and I thoroughly love Gollum. Every time Smeagol shows up,
God, you know what? Just saying Smeagol makes me thank God I didn't see this movie. I just see 75 hours of this like 2 years ago.
That's the thing. I mean, it made a ton of money, but anyway, it's serviceable. I can't. But again, I can't speak to how it compares to all of those technical things, because they didn't send us the big Whopper version. One thing I will say, they're very heavily plugging there's like a whole thing inside here plugging what's going to do, about a week away now, on the 24th. There is going to be a big deal online a live sneak peek of the next film with Peter Jackson, The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, Smaug. Which is just
Just
I know.
alone.
So that's
wrong
part
with
of what
you
this
people?
is about. It's to help generate interest in the next one. So you can bet that this 169-minute version, yep, Mark, is going to be a 3.5-hour director's cut with even more junk.
I cannot wait to not see that either.
Yep, it's going to come. It's going to happen.
Your time is gonna come. Hitchcock is on Blu-ray. Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins, Helen Mirren, Scarlett Johansson. I cannot tell you how little I like this movie.
See, I like this movie. It was fun. It was airy. It was
This movie-
frothy.
That's the problem. I did not. It's not just that it's airy and frothy, which is what I don't want about a movie about Hitchcock. It just the thing just rings false. It rings false from beginning to end, and Hopkins is doing a impersonation of Hitchcock without really kind of getting into what he was all about. I learned a little bit about the movies and the women that he loved, but not much. I mean, maybe if there's anything you can say about
didn't you enjoy being like transported back to that era? And
I wasn't.
that studio thing.
It was shot so bright and flat, and it just seemed so TV movie. It was like a big day of dress up. It felt like a Funny or Die video or something. I didn't like it at all.
Fine.
Why'd you like the only thing that this movie will do?
It was entertaining. I was thoroughly entertained. Is it deep? No.
I was thoroughly disappointed. The only thing this movie will do is that it will finally give some credit to Hitchcock's wife,
Alma. Yeah.
played by Helen Mirren, and the work that she did in helping to craft her husband's career.
This is based on a book too. You know that.
Wait,
It's basically about Alma being the being the big cheese in that relationship.
now Alfred Hitchcock, was he a real director?
No, he just hosted a show on TV. This is 40, the exclusive unrated version, also on the disc, along with the theatrical versions.
I'm going to defend this film a little bit.
Really?
Yes,
okay.
I am.
Let me just say, Blu-ray, DVD, digital copy, ultraviolet combo disc, 2 versions of the film on here. And it doesn't matter. Truly, this is one of those movies that doesn't need 2 different versions. It just needs to be one decent film, and there isn't a decent film on here. I'm eager to hear what you're going to defend this for, because this movie shouldn't even exist. You know, a good friend of ours, Lafka colleague, who I will not name in case she doesn't want to be named, but she was very funny. Her after she watched it when we were getting ready for voting, she emailed me. She goes, "Yeah, I just watched." Judd Apatow's wife and kids in a movie with another guy instead of Judd Apatow. That's basically how she saw it. White people problems.
Well, you know what? I mean, that's obviously something I can't. Well, you know what they say: write what you know. And the fact is that Judd Apatow and James L. Brooks too, with Spanglish, which I truly hated.
Yeah.
Apatow's writing what he knows, but I can see how people don't quite.
Well,
here's the thing: it's not a great entry point for the audience to care about the characters if they are this super wealthy West Side of Los Angeles family that has their little white people problems. I totally get that. If you strip away, if you were to strip away all the Apatow isms, issues,
yes.
It's too long and it's about rich white people. If you look at the emotional problems that they go through, I felt that the emotional beats of the story were legitimate to those people.
It's a comedy that is 2 hours and 14 minutes long.
I'm not
and the unrated version is 3 minutes longer.
Oh, that's
it's like the 40-year-old virgin again. It's like, really? It's like, what are you trying to do? Mad World?
What I'm saying is that, yes, it's white people problems and it's too long and all that sort of stuff. But if you look actually at emotionally what these characters go through, it is emotionally legitimate.
I like parts of it in bits and pieces. For those who don't know, this is kind of a sideways spin-off from Knocked Up. It takes the characters played by Leslie Mann and Paul Rudd and their daughters, who are, of course, also, they are Leslie Mann's and Judd Apatow's actual daughters. So it is Judd Apatow's family with Paul Rudd standing in for Judd Apatow.
Okay, fine.
And
they're
good. These are the characters.
The kids are good.
They are good. These are the characters they played in Knocked Up. They were peripheral characters. They were supporting characters, and it sort of decides to build a movie around them. And I think look. I like the characters. I think a lot of the film is very funny, but it just does. It needs editing. It needs someone to come in.
All his films need editing.
He needs what Tarantino needs. He needs what Spielberg needs. He needs what all of them need when they just get too full of themselves. He needs somebody to walk in and say, you're stuff stinks, and we need to cut this down. And he needs an editor. He needs somebody to just judge him.
You know who never needed that? Every Woody Allen film is like 90 minutes long.
and you know what? Billy Wilder never needed that either. They were self-critical and self-analytical to a hyperactive degree. But see, that's that Jewish neurosis, right? Judd Apatow needs more Jewish neurosis.
By the way, if you really want to want a reason to see this movie, you should see it because they shot it near where I used to live.
Ah, yes.
All those scenes where they're riding their bikes down San Vicente Boulevard.
Yes.
Is I used to live on San Vicente Boulevard, so with all the scenes where they're riding their bikes down San Vicente Boulevard, or driving down San Vicente, I used to live probably about 3/4 of a mile down the road from that very spot.
Bravo.
Thank you very much. Bachelorette is a terrible film, and it's a terrible film because it thinks it's going to be all transgressive like Bridesmaids because it stars a bunch of women, and it's directed by a woman, and all the sort of women are in it, but it's terrible. Now, supposedly it's like a satire, it's like raunchy, and everyone is all about being foul-mouthed and bodily fluids and stuff like that. But you know what? Ultimately, I just don't care about that stuff. It's when you're trying to be that, it's always a problem.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't come from character; it comes from trying to be out there. And I just thought this movie was just a total misfire. There's bloopers and a behind the scenes and a commentary from the director, but ultimately Bachelorette, which stars Kirsten Dunst, Lizzie Kaplan, Rebel Wilson, who's suddenly the big it girl, and Adam Scott, is just, to me, a total unfunny misfire that just tries way too hard to be out there. Wow. Wade, can I say something about Twilight Breaking Dawn?
Go ahead.
I hate these movies. These movies are not going to hold up.
So it's over now.
Yes,
it's done.
God,
the whole thing, it's finished.
Yeah, but now they're trying to. Now it's Hunger Games, and there'll be.
I know.
You realize that these movies are not going to hold up.
Oh no, not in a million years. They don't hold up now.
I mean, 10 years from now, not that studios care about this stuff anymore, but 10 years from now, do you think people are going to go, you know what, I really want to... I've seen every Star Trek sequel 57,000 times. I've seen every James Bond film 20 times. I've seen these because they're good films, and they're not just... By the way, not all of them are good films, but they're all, worth rewatching. I just don't think these movies are worth rewatching. And if somebody wants to email us at gods at... Ooh, I bumped the mic.
Nice. If
somebody wants to email us at gods@digigods.com and make a case for how they're going to rewatch the Twilight series because it's so awesome, I would love to hear it.
All right.
Anyway, we have on Blu-ray digital copy, we have the Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1, an extended edition, in a very odd-looking white plain wrap packaging, which I guess they did because they're getting married, or they got married in this one, or whatever that happened. This stupid one, I can't remember. And then we have finally Breaking Dawn Part 2, which is the I think they tried to do what they did with the last Harry Potter film, which is break it in two, because they saw how well that worked with Harry Potter. But it doesn't work as well here. And I think that Rob Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, Taylor Lautner, forget about him. He's done.
Yes, he is.
Terribly done. His agents, his managers tried to push him into top lining that John Singleton action film, which I bombed. And I just think this kid's is over. She can maybe carve out a good career in indie films and whatnot. I think she's smart. I think she's smart within that indie niche. I think she could do that. I don't know what to make of him. I don't know what's going to happen to that guy. I don't get it.
This Must Be the Place is one of the strangest films. It really is. I don't know why this movie was made. Judd Hirsch is like the best thing in this movie, and that's not saying much. Sean Penn was supposed to be kind of like a big Oscar contender. Well, this was at Cannes. Okay, this film kind of made its debut at Cannes. There was a lot of buzz about it, and then it sort of fizzled at Cannes, and then the Weinsteins picked it up, and I don't even think it's got a theatrical release. I mean, you got a two-time Oscar winner here. You got a two-time Oscar winner here in a Weinstein film, and they just buried this thing. I guess it just didn't get the heat on it that they were hoping. Anyway, Paolo Sorrentino, who's an Italian director who made a horrible movie called Il Divo that a lot of our colleagues loved a few years ago, which is about this famously corrupt prime minister of Italy, and it's just this tricked up, psychedelic, weird-ass, super highly stylized movie, and I think Sorrentino was all style and no substance. He made this movie starring Sean Penn as this goth rocker who discovers his dad is still alive, and he comes to the United States. His dad's already dead, and then there's this whole weird road trip about trying to, take revenge against a Nazi war criminal, and it doesn't really hang together. It's on Blu-ray, meh. And then we also have part 2 of Atlas Shrugged, which, Andy Klein, our good buddy Andy Klein, quite succinctly summed up his feelings on this when he said, if somebody turned my favorite novel into a movie this bad, I'd be really pissed off. The first one was so horrible that they, when they did part 2, they recast the whole thing. They're all different actors. It's just bizarre, and it still doesn't work. It just, the only reason this exists is because somebody, and a friend of mine speculated about this, is that the guy who had bought the rights to this, who had no experience in filmmaking, was so determined to get the thing made before his option expired that he literally just threw some money at a bunch of people who didn't know what they were doing, and they wound up having 2 very, very expensive amateur films that just completely desecrated a novel. And regardless of what you think of the novel, this is not the novel. Not part 1 and not part 2, certainly.
I just wonder why a movie or a novel like that, which Hollywood has coveted for decades,
I know,
winds up in the hands of that guy.
Because this gets
like
into
Angelina Jolie wanted to make that. Like, how come this guy can make it, Angelina Jolie can't?
Because and that gets into a whole different political thing. But Leonard Peikoff, who administers the Ayn Rand estate and oversees her legacy, is a guy who he's got his own very peculiar ideas about who should and shouldn't do things, and you got to run through him. So.
Well, now look what he did.
Yeah.
Now he wound up destroying the legacy of the novel. Now it will not be made again
for 20 years.
For 20 years.
Yeah.
Chasing Mavericks is the further destruction of the career of Gerard Butler. Although, you know what? I'm seeing this, that Olympus Has Fallen. What's that White House movie he's in?
Oh, yeah. That's the one.
I'm seeing that in a couple of days.
Let me know how it is.
Really? Should I see it or should I pass on it? I think I might pass. Nah, I think I'll see it. If I have nothing else going on, I'll see it. Anyway, it's it's got great great ocean photography because it's about a couple of surfers, a young surfer, and sort of like this mythical wave that everyone's got to surf because that's what wave people do. I don't surf, Wade. I tried surfing once, and let's just say Jews don't surf.
I hear you.
Anyway, so I just found this film. The characters are not that interesting. The surfing scenes are gorgeous. I totally get it. The movie wants to be inspiring. It's clearly not inspiring. The only thing I can do really to recommend this thing is just say that the photography is great. But otherwise, I have nothing more I can say about Chasing Mavericks because it's not great. God, I was terrible.
Gerard Butler, man, what is the deal with that guy? I just don't know. He's like.
I think you do know, and you're not telling me.
I just don't know what his deal is. I think he could be a good actor, but it's like he wants to be Matthew McConaughey now.
I don't know what he wants to be.
Oh, that's weird.
I don't know what he wants to be.
Anyway. The Hudsucker Proxy finally out on Blu-ray. Oh, what a glorious, glorious thing! This is the latest Warner Archives Blu-ray release. And
Warner Archives, a Coen Brothers film on a Warner Archives. It's
well,
not getting the full blowout.
Hudsucker Proxy was my favorite film of that year. I love this movie without reservation. 1994, best film of 1994. I still stand by that. And here's the thing. This was so Preston Sturges-y. That I think it just threw a lot of people for a loop. I don't think anybody realized that this was just a complete riff on Preston Sturges movies with the style of the Coen brothers, and it's a wonderful, wonderful movie.
But the thing is that the Coen brothers know that. It's not like
totally
they're ripping off Preston Sturges. No, they know that.
They know that. And by the way, they wrote this with Sam Raimi. They're childhood buddies with Sam Raimi. They all grew up together. So and it's so clever and it's so funny and it's so wonderful. It's the best thing that Tim Robbins has ever done. It really is. He's so fun. Paul Newman is great. The style is great. But this kind of sealed their doom as far as big studio movies. It was expensive and it didn't make any money, and Warner Brothers didn't really know what to do with it. But thank goodness it's out on Blu-ray because it does have a cult following. Jennifer Jason Leigh is so doing totally Katharine Hepburn. I mean, such a Hepburn impression that she's doing.
Oh, it's great.
It's just fantastic. And the scene where he does his little like college dance, the little hoot and dance thing, I think I almost had an aneurysm. I laughed so hard during that moment in the movie. It is so brilliant. I'm making myself all excited again. I'm going to home watch it again. It's great. I should be watching stuff I need to watch for radio at the end of the month, but screw it. I'm going to watch the Hudsucker Proxy today.
Yeah. Wade Major.
Blu-ray, and it's a great transfer. It's a great transfer.
Wade.
Yes.
Let me tell you something.
Oh dear.
There's a movie.
Oh dear.
This is okay. This is one of the.
Forget about Indiana Jones. Forget about Luke Skywalker. When you want to talk about characters that George Lucas created, the truly immortal, memorable characters created by George Lucas that will endure the test of time, we are talking about Mark Kaiser.
Willow.
Thank you.
But you know what? okay, this is the 25th anniversary Blu-ray of Willow, and I saw this when I was like a tiny little person.
I know.
And I remember thinking, even when I was that young, that this is a cool movie because it's all cool and stuff and junk. But somehow it's not what it wants me to think it is.
I know. I hear you.
I mean, it's very ambitious.
Yes.
And it was directed by Ron Howard.
Yes.
Very ambitious, and it combines sci-fi with sword and sorcery and big epic filmmaking. But ultimately, it even has the thing that you don't really see that much anymore that you used to see in a lot of Disney films, which is like the two crazy sidekicks.
I know.
You know, Warwick Davis is like, you know, well, no, the two crazy sidekicks in this one were, was it Kevin? No, it wasn't Kevin Pollak. Who was it? Who were the two crazy sidekicks in this movie? They were two crazy sidekicks.
Yeah,
they were the ones who they rode around. I remember there was a chase scene where they're both really small people. And they're stuck in the back of like this cart. And during a chase scene, and they're bouncing around the cart, going
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
They're like the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm like, you know what? This is just trying to be so magical, and yet it's kind of cool, but it's not magical.
No, not at all.
Story by George Lucas, music by James Horner. Come on, early James Horner score.
Yeah, you know, it's not a terrible Horner score. It's totally derivative, but it's one of his less offensive scores. I don't know. It's you know it's on Blu-ray. What can you say? It looks fine, but it just I don't know. Warwick Davis. What have you become, Warwick Davis?
I don't know. You know what? I think there's something about Lucas's best creations, Indiana Jones and Star Wars and whatnot. Yeah. They just feel very light on their feet and fun. This one felt like it was sort of trying to be the new this or that. And when you try to be the new this or that, you're never the new this or that. Just tell me a great story, and I will decide it's new this or that.
I hear you.
So I think Willow kind of fell into that. But it's got a great cast, and it's Ron Howard. And I think that there'll be a certain demographic who will run out and buy this thing. And I think that they will watch it, and they'll realize that it's kind of not that great.
Very true. And lastly, we've got a couple of sensational Criterion titles of great movies. One from 1943, and the other one from that vintage classic year of 1973. And may I just point out, the distance between these two movies, Mark, is greater than the distance between Badlands and Now.
You always make that analogy. And
Yep.
I don't understand it.
Yep, I'm just pointing it out.
What does that mean?
It just means.
How is that dramatic? How does it make me feel old?
There it is. The earliest one from 1943 is The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, which is one of the great Powell Pressburger films that is not yet out on Blu-ray from Criterion. It is now, and this is taken from the Film Foundation's 2012 4K restoration, which is sensational. If you know anything about Powell and Pressburger, they really pioneered color cinematography back in the 1940s, and this is one of the examples. This is a spendiculous. There's a new word, spendiculous. You like that?
What does it mean?
I don't know. It's spectacular and splendiferous and ridiculous all at the same time. This is a spendiculous-looking movie in color. It is just fabulous. The mono audio is so good. Could I just say the mono audio is so good, I almost think it's better than some like 5.1 setups.
Oh, you're just saying that
I'm
to be
serious.
different.
It is awfully good. The story itself is it's the story of General Clive Candy, who is like this sort of strangely legendary figure, and his life's, at least the period that the film covers, is 4 decades from 1902 to 1942, and an amazing performance by Deborah Carr. Roger Livesey in the lead is, I mean, if you don't know who he is as an actor, and he didn't have a huge following in the United States, it's just tremendous. It's one of the great performances of all time. It is a little bit of a satire, but it's very wry. So the tone of the film is something you need to kind of be prepared for, but it's such a great film, and it's just, you got so many great extras on here. Scorsese, of course, has to introduce the damn thing because of, Thelma Schoonmaker and that whole Michael Powell connection. But there's a great profile here from 2000 called The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, a profile of, and that is followed by a restoration demonstration that Scorsese also hosts, and a whole bunch of other good stuff. So it's really great. And lastly, Terrence Malick's Badlands from 1973, his directing debut, actually. And then he went ahead and made one more movie and then vanished. the strangest thing.
And then he vanished for 20 years and then started making movies every 18 months. And I wish he'd go back and vanish. I wish he'd go vanish again.
Oh no, you haven't seen To the Wonder yet, have you?
You?
It's wonderful.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously, you
It's
saw
wonderful.
it?
I did. It's wonderful.
I think you're a Malik apologist.
I am totally. But and Tim said, you know what, I like it, but I've already seen this movie, and it was called Tree of Life. But I really did. I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was really, really sweet.
Although you know what's funny about Badlands? Look at the cover art. Doesn't that seem like the most un-Badlandsy cover art for this movie?
Yeah, but that's
very stark black and white film. Yet it's got the exploitation looking, the roadshow drive-in theater looking.
It's cool. I like
artwork.
it. I like it. Anyway, this also is from a 4K digital transfer that Malik himself oversaw, which is nice. And it's got a great making-of documentary on here called Making Badlands, which is just first-rate. Of course, you don't see Malik in it. And then there are also new interviews with people who were involved in the film, like editor Billy Weber and Edward Pressman, who was the executive producer. And there's even a 1993 television episode, American Justice, which gives you the backstory of the actual events and the actual people the movie was based on, which I was not that familiar with. I kind of knew it loosely. What's not so interesting is Michael Almereyda, the director, does a booklet essay, and I wish they would have gone with a real critic, because Almereyda just is not my idea of an interesting guy. I don't think what he writes about the film is all that interesting. But that being said, it is Blu-ray, it is Badlands, and it is gorgeous, and Criterion has nailed it once again with Badlands and Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. So that being said, please send us Vox boxes, send us Send us listener mail, and send us... you know what, Mark? We were going to get the listener mail today. We didn't get to it.
Oh,
we
we'll have
ran
to
out of
do
time.
more next week.
Next show, we'll get to it. And listener mail to gods@digigods.com.
And the Facebook page.
And the Facebook page. Visit the Facebook page. Join the Facebook conversation. Lots of interesting things going on over there. We have solved... we got the cure for cancer. That's the latest thread. You know that.
Really?
Yep. It's just today. Posted.